In today's lesson, we're going to take a look at how to find approximate square roots. So what is a square root? A square root is a number that produces a specified quantity when multiplied by itself. A square root is made up of a radical sign and the number or variable that is inside that radical sign called the radicand. So what is a perfect square? A perfect square is a number that can be expressed as a product of two equal integers. So here is a list of the square numbers and its roots. You don't have to write these down, as you're going to be writing these on a number line in just a little bit. But I wanted to show you that the square numbers, the 1 times 1 is equal to 1 squared, which is equal to 1, and the square root of 1 is equal to 1. Same thing with the 2 times 2. That is equal to 2 squared, which is 4, and then the square root of 4 is 2, and so forth. So here are the square, on the left are the square numbers, and then on the right are the positive square roots of the numbers, or those are also the perfect squares. So shown here is a list of the positive and negative perfect squares on the number line. Please take a minute to pause the video and to copy this list of perfect squares onto your notes packet. All right, so let's go ahead and evaluate the square roots. The square root of 400. Well, we know that 20 times 20 is equal to 400, so the square root of 400 is 20. The square root of negative square root of 16. Well, you want to be careful with this one. We want to do what's in the radical sign first, and then we will then put that negative sign back on to the outside. So we'll take and evaluate the square root of 16 is 4, because 4 times 4 is 16, and then we'll just put our negative sign out front there. Same thing with number 3, the square root, or the positive or negative square root of 81. So you look at the square root of 81, well 9 times 9 is 81, so the square root of 81 is 9, and then we're just going to go put the positive and negative out front. And our last one, the square root of 121. Well, since 11 times 11 is equal to 121, the answer to number 4 would be 11. All right, so tell which two consecutive integers the square root will be between. And we're not to use calculators for this one. Instead, we'll be using our number line. So the square root of 77. Well, the square root of 77 would lie between the square root of 64 and the square root of 81. So the two integers, the consecutive integers, would then be 8 and 9. All right, for the second one, it says the square root of 52. So let's go ahead and locate the square root of 52, which would be greater than square root of 49, but less than 64. So then the two integers that it would fall between then are 7 and 8. And the next one, square root of 2. Well, the square root of 2 is all the way down, here between the integers 1 and 2. So let's put 1 and 2. All right, so let's take a look at number 4, the square root of 116. So again, the 116 is going to be located all the way down here, and that will be between the integers 10 and 11. And the square root of 39, well, the square root of 39 would be located between the square root of 36 and 49. So the square root of 39 is going to be 6 and 7 will be the consecutive integers. All right, and then our last one in this row, the square root of 94. So let's look for the square root of 94. And it looks like it's between then the square root of 9 and, the integers 9 and 10. All right, it looks like the last three are negative square root numbers. So we're going to go to the other side of the number line and we're going to look for the negative square root of 10. Well, that would lie then between the negative square root of 3 and the negative square root of 9 and the negative square root of 16, leaving with the integers of negative 4 and negative 3. So negative 3 and negative 4, and it doesn't matter which way you write them. All right, and negative square root of 100. Well, that one is a perfect square because the negative square root of 10 is going to be negative 10, and that's a perfect square. So there is no consecutive integers there. You're just going to write down negative 10. All right, and our last one, the negative square root of 15. So we would go locate, I can't get that thing to work, so I'll go ahead and just, the negative square root of 15, which is going to be between the negative square root of 3 and the negative square root of 4. Negative 3, or the integers negative 3 and negative 4. There we go. All right, in our last example, approximate the square root to the nearest integer. All right, so what we're going to do for these is let's go ahead and locate this square root of 10. And you would find the square root of 10 then would be right here. All right, so it would be between 3 and 4. Well, then we have to kind of look at this. It's wanting us to approximate it. And so because the square root of 10 would be closer to the square root of 9 than it would be to the square root of 16, your answer to that then is going to be then 3. So if I were to approximate it, it would go to 3. So let's take a look then at the square root, or the negative square root of 10. I'm sorry, negative square root of 18. All right, so then that one is going to go right in between here, and it's just a little bit bigger, or a little bit, I should say, less or more negative than negative square root of 16. So therefore, it's going to be closer to that negative 4 than it is going to be to the negative 5. So we're going to approximate it to negative 4. All right, looking at the square root of 3. All right, if I were to take that then, and that is going to go just a little bit smaller than the square root of 4. So then when I approximate it, it's going to be 2. All right, 2 left. The negative square root of 125. Well, if I take a look right over here, it's closer to the square root of 121, which is 11. So it will be then. Oh, and you know what? We were looking at that on the negative side. Oops, something happened. This is not working well. So instead of it being there, it's going to be, and look at that too, it's going to be on this side over there. So we're going to have negative 11. There we go. All right, and our last one, the negative square root of 65. So the negative square root of 65 appears to be closer to the negative square root of 64. So the answer to that would be 8. All right, so in this lesson, we took a look at how to find square roots and to find their approximates.